My name is ncutchin. This is my persuasive speech for Comm 101, titled Sex Offenders Deserve Nothing More Than Time. It's a parent's worst nightmare finding out that your child has been harmed, is missing, or even worse, has been murdered. Many parents find the thought of any of this happening to their child inconceivable. Unfortunately, for approximately 100 families a year, this grim reality of losing a child is all too real. Though the murder of an abducted child is rare, there is still more that can be done to make statistics even lower. 61% of the killers have had prior arrests for violent crimes, 53% of which were against children. 76% involved some sort of sexual activity. With so many of these murders having violent pasts, many people wonder why they are still allowed to roam the streets among us. Children are one of the most valuable assets in the world. They are our future. We often take great pride in protecting our most valuable assets by keeping them in a safe place away from criminals. While this may be true for things that carry an intrinsic value or a high price tag, the one thing that is priceless has been left unprotected: our children's lives. The children in this country have been sexually abused by strangers and family members at rates so astounding that if sexual abuse were a contagious disease, an epidemic would have to be declared. According to this map by the National Center of Missing and Exploited Children, California has over 117,000 sexual predators alone. As of July 22, 2009, there were a total of 686,515 registered sex offenders in all of the United States, with over 50,000 coming from Florida and Texas, and as I said previously, 117,000 coming from California. That is an unimaginable number of people living among us that not only have the potential to harm our children, but who have already committed some sort of sexual offense. People often wonder if there's a way to tell what a child predator looks like. Many people visualize these people as mentally ill people who are lurking around the community, hiding out in the bushes, scoping for young children to fulfill their sexual fantasies. Though this may be true for a few, there really is no way to recognize a sexual predator by stereotype. The vast majority of sexual offenders are social margins. One way to locate a person with a violent sexual history is to look at the state sex offender registration. After the abduction, rape, and murder in 1994 of 7-year-old Megan Conca, President Bill Clinton signed a nationwide law requiring all convicted child molesters and sex offenders to register with their state. By doing so, this allows the public access to the names, addresses of violent people. While this may help in some cases, there is still more that needs to be done to protect our children. Although there is a great deal of sexual offenders that are registered, approximately 80 to 100,000 of them are nowhere to be found by authorities. They have just disappeared. Also, only 30 states require an active notification of these criminals, and other states depend on family members and relatives to locate them on their own through the website. This is a helpful resource, but it is not a reliable way to protect the children. The system only works if the criminal still lives at the address they provided and notify the authorities when they move. States have no way of monitoring when a sex offender leaves or enters the state. Another problem with this method is the majority of sexual acts are performed on children by friends and family. That being the case, they fail to look at the closest to them, or they refuse to acknowledge the facts. The average sentence for a sexual offender is 2.8 years, compared to the agony and shame and torment that every assaulted child will have to live with for the rest of their lives. This seems like a slap on the hand. There needs to be harsher punishment for violent sex offenders. Locking them up for great lengths of time and taking their lives away, so to speak, is the only true way to keep our children safe. Since the 2005 rape and murder of 9-year-old Jessica Lunsford, Jessica's Law has been passed in Florida, and many other states are looking to put it in place. Jessica's Law will require that all those committing the sexual crime on children under the age of 12 to automatically serve 25-year sentence to life in prison. Those who are released from prison prior to death will be required to wear an electronic monitoring bracelet for 30 years. Since the average sexual predator is 27, this new law would keep them in prison till the average age of 52, and wearing the electronic monitoring device until they are approximately 82. While this law does not pertain to those already released from prison, It will certainly help future offenders. As for now, this seems like the only logical way to start the extermination of sexual predators amongst our society. Although some may argue that the cost to taxpayers for incarcerating these individuals is way too expensive, there is no price tag too large for protecting our children. There are also those who feel that incarceration is not the answer for helping those individuals. There's a great deal of debate over this issue. Some feel that these people have personality disorders and need psychiatric treatment to cure their urges. Others, however, see these violent predators as someone who are evil and knows all too well what they are doing and is morbidly wrong and should be punished for their actions. Whatever the case may be, we need to have a fail-proof way of protecting the children from these people. So let's say that the offenders are sick individuals that need psychiatric treatment, and they are given extensive therapy and treatment. First, sexual offenders must be motivated to participate in such a treatment. Treatment only provides the opportunity for change. The results of treatment will depend greatly on how the sex offender feels about what they have done, whether there is any remorse. One of the problems with this being is that most sex offenders will not ask for help because they like doing what they are doing and have no desire to discontinue. Also, by forcing offenders into treatment, they are not willing to participate in any anger. But for those who do it voluntarily enter the treatment programs, they do seem to show some progress. While this may sound like a logical approach, the problem is that there is no way to test or determine whether or not they are able to enter society again. So we just set them free and hope that they will. There is nothing more than the opportunity to strike again, whether it be now or 20 years from now. Some would argue that the rate of reoccurrence among treated sexual offenders is lower than that of most other criminals. It is thought that most sex offenders understand what they did was wrong and wish to change themselves. With extensive treatment, they will be able to control their urges and live a normal life. While this may be true for some, this does not guarantee this will be for everyone. There is no way to know for sure whether the treatment will last for a lifetime. The intentions may be good, but our children need more than good intentions. They need safety. I do not believe sexual offenders need some sort of psychiatric treatment alone. There is one form of treatment that has been a huge issue among treating sexual offenders, which is chemical castration. Chemical castration is performed by giving the men a hormone such as Depo-Provera. This particular drug is used for birth control in women. By giving it to men, the synthetic version of the female hormone, progesterone, enters the male bloodstream, causing the decrease in testosterone. This method has been used to treat the urges that are felt by many of the individuals. The method was first used in 1966 at the Johns Hopkins Institute. While to some this may seem like cruel and unusual punishment, others feel that no punishment is cruel enough for these attackers, whom have altered or destroyed their victims' lives. Studies show that by making chemical castration mandatory, the sexual offenders up for parole, the rate of recidivism went from 75% down to 2%. The numbers may sound astounding, and this may seem like the perfect answer to the problem. However, some would argue that chemical castration does not prevent a sexual predator from attacking. Also, they would have to be monitored for the rest of their life. If they stop taking medications prescribed, the urges will eventually recede. While this may be ineffective for the treatment of some, alone chemical castration is not enough. Electronic monitoring has also become a very effective way of our system to control overpopulations in our prisons. It has been proven to be a very effective way to keep criminals confined in specific areas. With our prisons being so overcrowded, many feel that this particular method should be used for nonviolent criminals such as drug offenders and people who launder money. This would leave adequate space for taxpayer money to house evil murderers, rapists, and child molesters. These violent criminals do not deserve the opportunity to be part of the community. The only time electronic monitors should be used for criminals of this nature is after serving the adequate amount of time of 25 years. While some of these predators may feel remorse for their actions, it does not mean they will not harm again. They will need to be put in prison for a long time and monitored on a daily basis. Together, the people of the United States can petition with others in their state to get Jessica's Law passed. If all states come together, we can start the process of protecting our children. We only have 8 states left to hop aboard. Let's get this law passed in the entire United States for the protection of our children. Hopefully someday they will be able to play freely without their parents having to constantly wonder who is lurking around the corner. Protecting our children should be the most important topic of the agenda of the United States. Without them, there will be no future.